There we go, look at that. So in episode 1, we created this part using a miter guide. And next what we want to do is make it really strong by putting a fillet in it. In this case, it's about 20 millimeters. And in order to add this extra material, what we're going to do is create a mold box. And so a part that goes around our piece, and then this we can extrude. After that, we can do a boolean and remove that part to create the cavity. And then all we need to do from here is to create a couple of chamfers just to remove some material to make it an easier print. So all good to go. So now the molds have been printed, and we've coated them with epoxy, 2 layers, and then we've polished it to get a nice finish just where we're going to be worried about the finish. It's time to coat them and then get them ready for the molding process. So now our mold release is all happily on. It's time for us to mix up some epoxy and then get 2 different containers, one of them with epoxy and the other one with chopped carbon to make our little forged carbon connector. And we're going to need enough to fill this gap in the side. You can use your CAD program to determine how much fibre and epoxy to add. To do this, you're going to need to change the material properties to carbon fibre. And then we're going to remove the part that we're overmoulding that we made in the original video. That's going to leave us just with those carbon fibre welds or fillet. And then if you go to the properties of those, it will tell you how heavy it is. Half of that should be carbon, half of it should be epoxy. I find adding a lot more and then squishing it out better. I like to put a layer of epoxy right on the mold. That can often help with surface blemishes like air bubbles. After that, there's 2 ways to add carbon fibre into here. One of them is to put it in dry. If you're clever about this, you can control the orientations for the performance of the part. But the problem with that is if it's a thick part, it's very hard to get the epoxy into it using this method, and you can't put much carbon down each time. And if you do it improperly, you can end up with dry splotches, which is really bad. So I usually only advise this for like quite a thin little layup here. The next thing you can do is to actually get a little pile of carbon fibres and then pour epoxy straight onto that. That way you can ensure it's nicely wetted out, but you can't control any of those fibre directions. Now we're talking about fibre angles, I feel like it's time to talk about why I like using forged carbon for projects like this. Carbon fibre is incredibly strong along its fibres, but weak in other directions. Real-world parts like bike frames experience loads from many angles, so you need multiple layers in different orientations. The orange line represents a balanced layup, almost equally strong in all directions, but at a big cost in performance. Below them are type 6 and 7 aluminium alloys, which are almost perfectly isotropic, but at a much lower strength to weight ratio overall. Now enter forged carbon. A lot better than aluminium, but not as good as a fully optimized carbon layup. Add some aligned long strand fibers in the mix and you nudge it up towards the lower end of traditional carbon performance. So after seeing those graphs, you're probably asking how forged carbon can be good if it is so much weaker than traditional carbon. Well, it also has some really great advantages. Chopped carbon fibers are one of the cheapest forms of carbon fiber that you can acquire. It also forms well into tight areas and around metal hardware that fabric-based systems would struggle with, exactly like these weld analogs we are molding. It doesn't require a large number of fabric plies to be optimized, cut, and laid up, which can result in a massive decrease in labor time. And it's also the only form of carbon that can be acquired in recycled form. So when you combine it with roll-wrapped carbon tubes that are both affordable and have good performance, we end up with a part that far exceeds grade 7 aerospace aluminiums at a fraction of the cost for low-volume runs, especially when you consider we need almost no expensive machinery. Ensure it's nicely wetted out, but you can't control any of those fibre directions. Make sure we have enough to fill those voids that create the kind of welds or fillets. In this process, we're going to compress those 2 mold surfaces against those carbon tube mandrel, And so we can provide a lot of pressure to squeeze out that excess epoxy. So at this point, we're not too worried about having too much because most of that will come out afterwards. Once we check for the fitment, that we do have a whole bunch of epoxy and carbon fiber sticking up that we can compress, we close the molds and then compress them in clamps or a vise or something like that. When we're compressing them, we just compress them slowly to make sure that there's a path for those bubbles to come out of. Oh, there we go, look at that. It's got a bit of flashing and carbon on the sides that we're going to have to grind off. I already showed you the grinding and sanding process in the last one, so I'll just finally show you the end product. So it came out pretty well. Not too many surface imperfections, that's straight out of the mold without any polishing. I also then put it through some pretty rigorous testing, scooting a couple 100 kilometers with 30 kilos on the front. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and I'm super interested to hear your take in the comments. Also, thanks so much to Easy Composites for putting out so much information about forged carbon properties.